Hi friends, today I'll be reading The Tale of Peter Labbit, also known as The Tale of Peter Rabbit, the bilingual edition in Singlish and English by Beatrix Potter and translated by my friend Gwee Li Sui. And this is dedicated to my Twitter friend, Krupali, and I hope your baby likes it. Okay, let's start. Once upon a time got 4 little labbits, Gyo, Flopsy, Mopsy, Cotton Bui, and Peter. They lived with their ama in a sandbank under the root of a sibei big fir tree. Once upon a time, there were 4 little rabbits. Their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. They lived with their mother in a sandbank underneath the root of a very big fir tree. Okay, sayangs, Lao Auntie Labbit one morning said, You go to the fields can, down the lane can, but don't go into that Uncle McGregor's garden. Your appa is go there, kena accident, ended up in Auntie McGregor's pie one. Now, my dears, said old Mrs. Rabbit one morning, you may go into the fields or down the lane, but don't go into Mr. McGregor's garden. Your father had an accident there. He was put in a pie by Mrs. McGregor. Okay, carry on and don't itchy backside, huh? I go gai gai liao. Now run along and don't get into mischief. I am going out. Then Lao Auntie Labbit took her basket and her umbrella and went jalan-jalan through the wood to the cake shop. She bought 1 brown roti and 5 ribena buns war. Then old Mrs. Rabbit took a basket and her umbrella and went through the wood to the baker's. She bought a loaf of brown bread and 5 currant buns. Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cotton Bui were good little bunnies and jalaned down the lane to pick blackberries. Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail, who were good little bunnies, went down the lane to gather blackberries. But that Peter, very the naughty, straight away ran to Uncle McGregor's garden and squeezed under the gate. But Peter, who was very naughty, ran straight away to Mr. McGregor's garden and squeezed under the gate. First, he makan some lettuce and kacang buncis. Then he makan some chai tau. First, he ate some lettuce and some French beans. And then he ate some radishes. Then, feeling a bit sick, he went to find some parsley. And then, feeling rather sick, he went to look for some parsley. But guess round the end of a cucumber frame he met who? Uncle McGregor. But round the end of a cucumber frame, whom should he meet but Mr. McGregor? Uncle McGregor was on the ground replanting young bok choys, but he got shocked and chased after Peter, waving a rake and gao-paying, "Stop thief ah!" Mr. McGregor was on his hands and knees planting out young cabbages. He jumped up and ran after Peter, waving a rake and calling out, "Stop, thief!" Peter was sibei scared. He kelam kabut ran around the garden because he forgot how to get back to the gate liao. He lost 1 shoe among the bok choys and the other shoe among the kentangs. Peter was most dreadfully frightened. He rushed all over the garden, for he had forgotten the way back to the gate. He lost 1 of his shoes among the cabbages and the other shoe amongst the potatoes. After losing them, he 4 legs ran lagi faster, so I think maybe could escape. If he didn't sway enter a gooseberry net and his large jacket buttons kena caught. The jacket was blue with brass buttons, quite new one. After losing them, he ran on 4 legs and went faster, so that I think he might have got away altogether if he had not unfortunately run into a gooseberry net and got caught by the large buttons on his jacket. It was a blue jacket with brass buttons, quite new. Peter thought he sure hubbies and cried big tears, but some friendly sparrows got hear him cry and flew excitedly to him to say, "Mas chiong ah!" Peter gave himself up for lost and shed big tears, but his sobs were overheard by some friendly sparrows, who flew to him in great excitement and implored him to exert himself. Uncle McGregor came with a sieve, which he hoped to poke Peter on the head with, but Peter eluded and escaped, ruining his jacket. Mr. McGregor came up with a sieve, which he intended to pop upon the top of Peter, but Peter wriggled out just in time, leaving his jacket behind him. He chommed into the tool shed and jumped into a can. It was a chantic thing to hide in lah, if inside didn't have so much water. He rushed into the tool shed and jumped into a can. It would have been a beautiful thing to hide in if it had not had so much water in it. Uncle McGregor was quite sure Peter was somewhere in the tool shed, maybe hiding under a flower pot. He one by one turned over to check got or not. Mr. McGregor was quite sure that Peter was somewhere in the tool shed, perhaps hidden underneath a flower pot. He began to turn them over carefully, looking under each. Then Peter sneezed. Achoo! Uncle McGregor lai liao. He tried to press one foot on Peter, who jumped out of a window, ping-pianging 3 plants. The window too small for Uncle McGregor, and he already sian of chasing Peter, so he went back to Zhougang. Presently, Peter sneezed. Curtis Chu. Mr. McGregor was after him in no time, and tried to put his foot upon Peter, who jumped out of a window, upsetting 3 plants. The window was too small for Mr. McGregor, and he was tired of running after Peter. He went back to his work. Peter sat down to rest. He pumped Jack liao, shaking with fright, and somehow got no idea which way to go. Also, he varied the wet from sitting in that can. After a while, he began to roam, going lippity-lippity, not very fast, and look-see around. Peter sat down to rest. He was out of breath and trembling with fright, and he had not the least idea which way to go. Also, he was very damp with sitting in that can. After a time, he began to wander about, going lippity-lippity, not very fast, and looking all around. He found a wall, got a door, but locked there, and underneath no room for a fatty bonbon little Labbit to squeeze. A Lautikus was running in and out over the batu doorstep, carrying kacang to her family in the wood. Peter asked her how to get to the gate, but her mouth got a kacang so big that she buay spiak. She just shook her head at him. Peter I cry liao. He found a door in the wall, but it was locked, and there was no room for a fat little rabbit to squeeze underneath. An old mouse was running in and out over the stone doorstep, carrying peas and beans to her family in the wood. Peter asked her the way to the gate, but she had such a large pea in her mouth that she could not answer. She only shook her head at him. Peter began to cry. Then he tried to go straight across the garden, but he got lagi mixed up. He came to a pond where Uncle McGregor filled his watering cans. Got a white kuching staring at some goldfish. She diam said, but now and then her buay, the tip, twitched macam alive. Peter thought better siam her. He got hear about kuchings from his cousin, little Benjamin Bunny. Then he tried to find his way straight across the garden, but he became more and more puzzled. Presently, he came to a pond where Mr. McGregor filled his water cans. A white cat was staring at some goldfish. She sat very, very still, but now and then, the tip of her tail twitched as if it were alive. Peter thought it best to go away without speaking to her. He had heard about cats from his cousin, little Benjamin Bunny. He went balik towards the tool shed, but suddenly near him got changko noise. Screech, scratch, scratch, screech. Peter hurried under the bushes. Because bo tai chi, he came out and climbed onto a wheelbarrow to look-see. First thing he saw was Uncle McGregor changkuling bawangs. His back faced Peter, and beyond him, the gate. He went back towards the tool shed, but suddenly, quite close to him, he heard the noise of a hole. Screech, scratch, scratch, screech. Peter scuttered underneath the bushes, but presently, as nothing happened, he came out and climbed upon a wheelbarrow and peeped over. The first thing he saw was Mr. McGregor hoeing onions. His back was turned towards Peter, and beyond him was the gate. Peter got down from the wheelbarrow and peered as fast as he could along a straight walk behind some ribena bushes. Uncle McGregor saw him at the corner, but Peter Bohill, he slipped under the gate and was safe in the wood outside the garden liao. Peter got down very quietly off the wheelbarrow and started running as fast as he could along a straight walk behind some blackcurrant bushes. Mr. McGregor caught sight of him at the corner, but Peter did not care. He slipped underneath the gate and was safe at last in the wood outside the garden. Uncle McGregor hung up the little jacket and shoes to use to scare blackbirds. Mr. McGregor hung up the low jacket and the shoes for scarecrow to frighten the blackbirds. Peter ne'er stopped piaing or looked back until he reached home at the big fir tree. He was so pumped that he collapsed on the nice soft sand of the Labbit hole floor and closed his eyes. His ama was busy cooking. She wondered what he did with his clothes, second little jacket and shoes Peter lost in 2 weeks' haul. Peter never stopped running or looked behind him till he got home to the big fir tree. He was so tired that he flopped down upon the nice soft sand on the floor of the rabbit hole and shut his eyes. His mother was busy cooking. She wondered what he had done with his clothes. It was the second little jacket and pair of shoes that Peter had lost in a fortnight. I'm sorry to say this Peter was not very well in the evening. His ama put him to bed and made him some chamomile tea, and she gave Peter a bit. Take 1 tablespoon, then you tidu. I am sorry to say that Peter was not very well during the evening. His mother put him to bed and made some chamomile tea, and she gave a dose of it to Peter, 1 tablespoonful to be taken at bedtime. But Flopsy, Mopsy and Cotton Boy got roti lah, susu lah, blackberries lah for supper. Tamat. But Flopsy, Mopsy and Cottontail had bread and milk and blackberries for supper. The end. You can get this copy from Kinokuniya Singapore, and I'll put a link to their online shop below. This is not a sponsored post, and I hope you enjoyed it. Bye!